always at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Oh, we finally did it. We saw the Shanna plan. We saw the defensive line dominate. This was the best performance by the 49ers throughout the preseason. They've been building to this. Kyle Shanahan talked about the fact they wanted to execute at a high level, and they really did in this game. It was so fun to watch. Alex, I had the goosebumps as I was watching Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance keep running in and out of the game. Kyle Shanahan actually did it. He showed us a little bit of the card, and I didn't expect it from this. I thought we were going to have to wait till Detroit, but now Detroit's butt is puckered because they have to be completely worried about how to prepare for Kyle Shanahan and this two-quarterback system with all these offensive weapons.
Yes, they do. They definitely do. And I didn't need the visual, but I appreciate it. I know that I definitely appreciate it because, I mean, if I'm the Detroit Lions right now, it is extremely puckered because it is very, very scary. But you know what? We're going to get there, folks. We'll get there. Make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button right now. Otherwise, you won't get those quick quips and quick wit there from Ant because you won't be here for it. You want to be here for it because that's not even the best line he's ever thrown out there. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're a member of the Cutback crew. I got you, man.
Yeah.
I got you. Look, a lot of great things from this game. A lot of things to talk about from this game, performance-wise, top to bottom. There's a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff from the 49ers. Offensively, what did you see? Let's save the Shannon plan. We'll end the offensive conversation on the Shannon plan. But offensively, what did you see from the O-line play? What did you see from the running back play that you really, really liked? And how much more difficult is it now for the 49ers to make cuts in that running back room?
Yeah, I thought overall the offensive line looked very good. It showed the depth that we've been talking about that we saw during practices at training camp. There was a lot of questions about this offensive line, a lot of slander being thrown their way early on in the preseason about how they weren't very good and they were going to get, Trey killed and all this stuff. And they came out and they showed out. And that's what we've been talking about for a while. They have a lot of ability. They have a lot of guys that can move around, very deep offensive line. And when you had Trent Williams and those guys in at the beginning of the game, they absolutely were dominating in the run game. And it just looked really good. And that corresponded into very good holes for the running backs who looked dynamic. And pretty much every running back looked very good in this football game. And so now you have a lot of tough questions, surrounding who is going to be on this football team. But we don't have questions about how Kyle Shanahan is able to use this running game because we saw right away in the first half and the first drive of the game, Jimmy Garoppolo able to run the quick little bootleg out, on the play action and hit George Kittle and get him involved in the game early. You saw what happens, the impact of Raheem Mostert being in the football game, the impact of this offensive line being at full strength with Alex Mack, who looked great, and the rest of these guys. So the 49ers were back to firing on all cylinders, and I'm looking forward to seeing them roll this into the season. But we've been saying it for a while. They've been building for this, but this team is still built. No matter how much talk is about these quarterback position and these two quarterbacks, this team is still built around that offensive line and this running game, and they will be as successful as that unit ultimately is.
Accurate indeed, and the O-line is the catalyst, right? They set the tone. Alex Mack did a great job today with that first group. I get it. The Raiders didn't have, right, their normal pieces out there, their starters out there. That's fine. But you know what? The Niners offense should have done exactly what it did then without those pieces, and it did just that. It moved the ball down the field at will, surgically, right, precision-based, cut through that Raiders defense as it operated down the field and scored touchdowns on its first two drives. You want to see that from this group when the opponent you're playing, right, isn't rolling out there with their best group or their A team. You want to see you basically control and dominate the field, which is what this team did and what this O-line did. And then Raheem Mostert completely sets himself apart from the rest of the running back room. Hasn't played a snap in the preseason, and there's been a lot of Raheem Mostert slander out there talking about how this guy can't handle the workload. Trey Sermon is on his heels. No. Trey Sermon's nowhere close to this man's heels, and that's because the Mosterati is really ridiculously fast and can run downhill inside with power and is just ferocious. It's incredible to see that it took this long right? For someone to recognize Raheem Mostert's potential as a running back in this league, thank God for Kyle Shanahan, right? Because Kyle Shanahan is able to take running backs and really bring out the best in them. Raheem Mostert is an absolute beast in the system.
Yeah, he is. The outside zone takes on a completely different, look when he's out there. It's explosive, and he just changes the dynamic of the game because as a linebacker, if you do not respect him running the football, you are going to be late to the party. You saw him do the stop and start in this game in the stiff arm. Okay, you make any sort of a hiccup against him, and he gets around the outside and he has a big play. So now you have to commit, and that means the play action is wide open. That's why you saw George Kittle get open. These are the things that are going to allow Jimmy Garoppolo to even be able to take shots. Trey Lance take shots down the field eventually because you have to commit to this run game. Once that safety starts creeping, it's going to open those opportunities to hit balls down the field. You just have to get there. Last year wasn't a problem of the safety getting into the box. The problem was being able to execute down the field once we got Mullins and Beathard in there. They weren't able to take advantage of those situations. Now we have quarterbacks that can. Jimmy took a shot to Mohamed Sanu. Even though it wasn't successful, he let him know, I'm going to take that shot. I'm going to try to get my ball to the big receiver that can take advantage of being on Amick Robertson, who's a smaller corner in the slot. He just didn't execute it to the highest level, but I like the shot. And you know what? A lot of clean pockets too. So this offense was definitely clicking. I don't care who was on the other side. I want to see more of the, how it looks, the way it looks out there, how they're executing. That's more important than who they're going against. Yes, they're supposed to win, but you know what happened when the 2s and 3s came in? They won too. So at some point, you can't just go off of who's on the other side of the field. You have to go on how these guys are playing, and they were making all their blocks at a high level, and then the offense was executing. But you're right, Raheem Mostert, absolutely explosive, and I think he did set himself apart as running back one, which I don't think was a question for us the entire time.
No, not even a little bit. I wasn't really willing to buy into the Trey Sermon stuff. I think he can do those things. I think he could potentially develop into a guy that could be one little A, right, to Raheem Mostert's 1A, but it's not right now. But Trey Sermon has developed and he has improved because he looked a lot better in this game than he has in any other previous preseason game. He had some big runs. He had some times where he was a little bit more explosive in space. He was able to get to the outside and really get downhill. He seemed much more comfortable out there with the ball in his hand. So did JaMycal Hasty. So did Elijah Mitchell, other than that first kerfuffle there with Trey Lance, which a lot of 49ers fans are putting on Elijah Mitchell. And I watched the play develop and felt that it was supposed to be a designed read option to that side of the field or a read option sort of look. But Ant, you brought up an interesting point when we were talking back on this play, and it's a point that I hadn't noticed, and I want you to go ahead and elaborate on that a little bit more for people as to why it's not. You wouldn't say that it's clear, concise that was on Elijah Mitchell, that it could have been some sort of miscommunication with Trey Lance.
Yeah, besides knowing exactly what the play is, just reading from what I saw, you had Charlie Warner going back against. He could have been getting the ball and then following Charlie Warner behind. So I'm not 100% of what the play call was. I'm sure that this is going to get cleared up. So if it does get cleared up, then that's fine. But one of them made a mistake. And that's what happens when you have two rookies on the football field together.
No way.
They're going to make mistakes, especially Elijah Mitchell, who hasn't played, that much in practice because he's been injured. But it wasn't, to me, it wasn't like so big and egregious that it's going to hurt him make this football team. As far as Trey Sermon goes, Trey Sermon has a lot of vision. He's a very good runner on the inside, and he has the ability to stretch it on the outside zone. But he's not going to have the dynamic plays on the outside, like with sweeps and that sort of thing, that Raheem Mostert does. These guys are going to be looking to cut back. Elijah Mitchell's the one that can do the Raheem Mostert things because he has that explosive speed. JaMycal Hasty has got the quickness, but once again, you've seen him almost get ran down when he scored his touchdown because there is speed, but it's not the explosive speed that you see from the other guys. So they have a lot of dynamic talent at the running back position. Trey Sermon is going to be very successful in the role that he has been given in this offense, and he's going to be just fine. He's okay being number two. He's okay growing behind Raheem Mostert, Elijah Mitchell, and JaMycal Hasty, spelling them in situations where both of them can catch the ball in the backfield. Both of them are explosive, one cut and go guys. So it's nice to see these guys get downhill and get positive yardage. They have running backs that fit this system and young guys that have explosion that fit this system. It's exciting running back room. We'll see how ultimately it pans out and how they use them. But it was a good sign and a good move in the right direction.
Absolutely. And from the running back room, you have to make the natural transition over to the wide receivers because it's the only other position on this offense right now where there's questions about who the guys are going to be in the room. I know there's still cuts and names that need to be made at the tight end position, but it's pretty obvious who those names are most likely going to be. The wide receiver room, there's at least a conversation and debate going on and brewing in terms of who are, right, number 5 and number 6 for this receiving core. Kyle Shanahan has come out and stated this past week that Jalen Hurd's one of their 6 best receivers. So if you take Kyle Shanahan at his word, that means 5 wide receiver positions are already locked up. And who's number 6 going to be? Is it going to be a guy like Travis Benjamin? Is it going to be a guy like Juwan Jennings? Or is it going to be a guy like Simba Webster? Some 49ers fans still feel that could be the case. Juwan Jennings gets himself back on the field and makes a case for himself, as did Travis Benjamin. Some people felt Travis Benjamin didn't do a whole lot in this game against the Raiders, but let's not take away from the fact that he had 2 pass interference calls that set the Niners up in a position to put points on the board towards the end of the half there, including that one that probably would have been a touchdown had the Raiders defender not gotten his hands all over Travis Benjamin's.
Right.
Travis Benjamin toasted him on that route.
Yeah, and I think that Travis Benjamin also had a nice punt return as well.
Absolutely.
Anytime you get plus 10 on a punt return, it is a good return. So he's successful there, and he's somebody that can add in that area, which makes what the 49ers did kind of in the return game with adding, letting Elijah Mitchell and Aubrey Thomas also return kicks makes it harder for me to believe that Simba Webster is going to make this team. They're looking for alternate, people to take over that role, because you don't want to keep a guy just for a special teams prowess. You want to keep guys that are going to be on the roster. Those 2 guys we know are going to be on the roster. So letting them do that, and Elijah Mitchell looking very good, even though he's never played special teams in college, he looked very good on special teams. So Richie Hightower's done a good job. They're putting him in areas to be successful. I think he could be a guy that can take over the kick return role. That might put Webster out right away. That also could hurt Travis Benjamin in the fact that if you wanted him to be involved in the return game, now you don't need that aspect, which saves Juwan Jennings a little bit. So then you just have to decide which one of these guys, because neither one of them had a dynamic performance in this football game, but which one of these guys serves the purpose of your team better? Because you do have to make sure you either have the possession guy or the guy that takes the top off. Which one do you value more in this offense? I don't know which one that is yet. Later I will tell you in Project 53, I'm sure. But it is definitely a tough decision to make because they both have upside and they're both really good players. There is advantages and disadvantages to both. Juwan Jennings a better blocker. Travis Benjamin a lot faster. You have the return aspect from him. Juwan Jennings, you don't have that, but you know you're going to get some grit and some toughness. So it is going to be a point of emphasis for the 49ers to figure out who this is going to be, who can get to the practice squad and who can't. More than likely, whichever one that they end up cutting, you won't see again because they're probably going to get picked up by somebody else.
I would imagine that's probably the case. And Ant's also not wrong. This is a special edition of a recap show. This will be one of the only times that it premieres at 9 a.m. because Project 53 is coming out at 11. So make sure you stick around after this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. That way you're here for it. So you can hear, not guess. You're gonna know what we think. But you can hear what we think the 53 is going to be, what this final 53 is, before the Niners even put it out. See how accurate we are with that. But it is going to be very, very tough. That's a tough decision. And all the things that you stated about both guys is accurate. And I thought, you can ask Megan this, and Megan will probably be in the comment section laughing this up. When Juwan Jennings made that business decision on that red zone slant, where he kind of short arms it, he was definitely looking inside at the footsteps in the linebacker that was going to smack him in the face if he caught it. I thought that might be a play that would do him in because his whole thing is big, physical. You need to be able to pull that thing in, take that shot, and try and get into the end zone. He doesn't do it on that play. But then the next drive, he immediately comes back with a very, very difficult, tough catch in space. Again, with a guy blanketing him. Trey Lance throwing a freaking... That thing shot out of a literal cannon. Cannon. And he somehow manages to pull it down in space. It was one of those things where, he didn't catch that ball in the red zone. In his head, he's going, that could be a play that cost me. And rather than letting him that eat him up, right, and it affect his performance the rest of the way, he dials back in and comes up with a huge catch on that next drive, and just showing that he can bounce back from those types of things. I like seeing that from him because the big thing with Juwan Jennings, right, and Travis Benjamin is if Juwan Jennings is on the field, you may be sacrificing a guy in terms of their ability to get over the top with the speed stuff at times. But the big body and the size can make up for that speed in certain situations. He's not as big as a Jalen Hurd, not as fast as Jalen Hurd, but he's kind of that bridge, right, between what you would get with Jalen Hurd and what you got with a guy like Kendrick Bourne. He's that bridge between the two. He's definitely an upgrade in that area. It really just going to come down to what does Kyle Shanahan really want out of that last wide receiver spot? Do you want a guy who you can utilize as a returner and a guy who can be a deep threat over the top? Or do you want a big body possession guy who can be physical, can do some of the things that Hurd can do, right? And that like not the Richie Jameses, but the Brandon Ayuk's and the Deebo Samuels can do with the short passing game, right? We've seen him on the tunnel screens. He's been able to execute those things. Is that more important to you in this offense, or do you have enough of those pieces already? You need the over-the-top, deep threat burner guy in Travis Benjamin.
Yeah, can you keep enough guys that are the same? Mohamed Sanu, Jalen Hurd, as far as body type.
Yep.
Jalen Hurd can do so many other things, so that's why he's a no-brainer. But Mohamed Sanu and Jawan Jennings are pretty close to the same player. The only difference is Mohamed Sanu's done this for a long time. He knows how to use his body. He knows how to get open. He's a little more seasoned. The one thing I'll say about Jawan Jennings dropping that ball, he should have caught it. But there was a wrong read there. Jalen Hurd was open on the other side.
Yes, he was.
It was running, the slant on the inside, and if he would have got the ball, it would have been a touchdown because the safety dropped down on Jawan Jennings. So that was just a little bit of the wrong read. So I think both guys are going to hear it in the video room. Is like, hey, you should have caught this ball, and Trey, you need to be looking here. This is the actual read because Jalen was open, and Jalen would have scored a touchdown on that. He was wide open. So this is just a learning process, but he's got to make those plays. But I thought you're right. He bounced back, and he put himself in the conversation. And he's done enough during training camp. He's done enough, during the preseason game that he played before this, where he looked very good and he can be successful on this football team. It all comes down to what flavor you want for Kyle Shanahan. What is the mixture of, seasoning that you want to be on this football team? And that's what they're going to go with. I wouldn't be shocked if it's either one of them, which is kind of scary. I mean, I know people are already bringing up that maybe it shouldn't be Mohamed Sanu. Maybe Sanu should be off, and these guys should be on there. It does bring up interesting questions. I'm not ready to pull Sanu off because Sanu has looked absolutely fantastic throughout training camp. Everyone's been singing his praises, so I would be shocked if they cut him. But it does bring up a very tough decision, and both guys are deserving of being on this roster, so it really is kind of, apples and oranges. Which guy do you want? What is the flavor that you want on this team? And it's going to be a tough decision to make, and somebody's going to be gone.
You like pie? The 49ers have a lot of pie, but they have a lot of flavors of pie. And what flavors sell best? What flavors are going to work the best with what we have and what you're going to be facing? Right? That's what it comes down to. It's going to be very, very difficult to narrow that in. And I don't even know. There's probably not even technically a right decision, right? Because you could probably have success any way you cut this thing or any way you try and put this roster together. But only one roster is going to get you to a Super Bowl. Only one roster is going to be able to execute the things that you want. And that's a tough decision to make when you have this much talent.
And there's no guarantee that you won't end up seeing both of those guys depending on, what happens and they don't get picked up or whatever. You might end up seeing one of them contribute to the team down the road. But I can't go any further without talking about Jalen Hurd. Because Jalen Hurd did what we wanted him to do. He got out there and actually played. He looked good. He had a couple of dropped footballs that he should have caught. The one over the middle, especially where he went low, he should have caught that football and he let it get away from him. But one thing that was very evident was he can get open when he wants to get open. He can catch the ball. He can make plays. He can be used as a decoy, which is just as beneficial as actually catching the football. And that play with Trey Lance, they completely bought on number 14 going across the field. He ran the tunnel screen. He ran a fly sweep. Kyle Shanahan was like, oh, yeah, I have this guy, and I know all the things I want to do with him, and he didn't even touch half of what he's going to do. So I thought that, once again, it was very clear that Jalen Hurd is on this football team. In fact, I think he's one of those top niche guys. I don't think he's even a question. I know they were still trying to say, oh, maybe he's one of the 6 guys. Like, no, he's absolutely one of the 6 guys. And he looked good the whole game. He looked quick. He looked fast. Any questions about him being able to beat man coverage should be completely gone. Any questions about him being able to be a successful NFL receiver should be completely gone. This was a good performance, not a great performance. If he had caught all those footballs, it would have been a great performance. But I like what I saw so far.
Hey, he hasn't played a football game in 2 freaking years. I'll give him 2 drops.
Yeah.
I'll give him 2 drops. I will give him 2 drops. I know he's going to figure those out. And one of those drops was an extremely difficult pass because Trey threw a ball that was on point, but it was a bullet, and the defender was able to get a little bit of a piece of it.
It's got a wobble.
Yeah, it definitely did have a wobble.
Yeah.
He's still gripping a little too hard. Still gripping and ripping.
There's something there because there's a little bit of a wobble there, but he did put it in the right spot. I mean, he really did.
It was
overall, it was right where he needed it to be. That's the only place he could put it where the defender couldn't actually make a play on it, and Jalen Hurd had an opportunity to get it.
Correct. And the defender still got a little bit of a piece.
A little bit of it,
yeah. A little bit, and Jalen Hurd almost came down with it. I think in time that'll get cleaned up. And I think, again, as Jalen gets more comfortable in the field, those things will change. But before we get any further into, we still got to talk about our straight beasts and all that fun stuff. We got to talk a little bit about the quarterback performances, right? We got to talk about it and dive into it a little bit. Not a lot, nothing crazy. We got to see the Shannon plan. We love that. We love seeing the Shannon plan because we've been all on it on this channel. We posted our video a few weeks ago on the Shannon plan. But if you've been here for a while and listening to us for the past few months, this is something we thought the Niners were going to do. This was something that was going to happen, that you could utilize or find a way to take Jimmy and Trey, put them together, right, and do something with the both of them that best benefits this team. And had the beautiful saying during our Jimmy versus Trey camp position battle, right, that you don't have a $26 million quarterback, right, and then Trey on his rookie contract. You have a $31 million quarterback between the two of them that you're going to utilize. And that was on full effect and full display today.
Yeah, that's what you're really looking at. Yeah, you have a high-priced quarterback between the two of them, using all their strengths to benefit your football team. Yeah, we started thinking about this a long time ago, that the fact that it wasn't actually Jimmy versus Trey, which was completely out there, but that it was, that everyone was putting out there. I want to say it like that, not like it was actually far-fetched, but it was out there. And then we just kind of thought it was Jimmy and Trey. Like, let's get behind these guys and support it. And Kyle Shanahan slowly was starting to give hints and into the direction that they were going to go with it. And then they were able to kind of show it a little bit at camp. There wasn't a whole lot there, but when we were out there, you were definitely getting feelings and vibes that this is the way it was going, just listening to some of the way the players were talking, Kyle Shanahan was talking. They were definitely not trying to give it away. And then all of a sudden this week, they completely gave it away, validated what we thought was going to happen, and used the best parts of both of their games to benefit the 49ers. This is 100% a very gutsy move by Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel. They're going out there, putting themselves on a limb. But since when has Kyle Shanahan ever backed down from a challenge? Never. He's going out there. He's trying to change the way football is played, change the way a rookie is introduced to the NFL. The token saying has always been they either start right away or they sit. And he's saying, no, you don't have to start right away and you don't have to sit. You can go out there and play, perform, make plays, get comfortable, get confidence, while also contributing to the football team, but not having to take the full weight of being the starting quarterback and all the pressure. Let a good player like Jimmy Garoppolo, who has shouldered this weight before, that has won football games, shoulder the brunt of it. Let Trey come in and be the changeup that you need, and ultimately both of them together can make big-time plays for the 49ers.
Agreed with you there. And look, in training camp practices too, you saw glimpses of it. I mean, we weren't basing this off of nothing. I mean, you talked about this. You saw glimpses in training camp where Jimmy Garoppolo during move the ball drills would be lights out. He'd be incredible, right? Trey would struggle. And then you got into small situation fields, right? They would go situationals, 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, red zone situations inside the 15, inside the 20. And Trey Lance was torching the second team defense. And it's like, this guy's beating these guys. Stop it. They're already dead. Quit it. Stop doing this to him. Kyle, there's no reason to do this to him. And you're seeing the success that both of them are having. And you're like, well, man, if they both were like, if you put them together, they'd be great, right? This guy who's excellent in the red zone, and this other guy who can operate the offense and has rhythm, pacing, keeps everybody going, puts the ball in stride. We're able to make big plays over the middle of the field. He can push the ball down the field, keep drives alive and going. 3rd down, Jimmy Garoppolo, pretty much every practice that we were at, big 3rd down situation, he'd have an incredible completion. Throw the ball between two defenders, the ball shouldn't get there, and it somehow does. Because, Jimmy's the whole thing with Jimmy, right? Oh, he doesn't throw with velocity. He doesn't have a zip on the ball. Well, you don't have to necessarily have that zip when that ball comes out as quick as it does. So these guys have strengths that they can put together and utilize. And not only did we get to see a little bit of it today, you also got to see some of the weaknesses. There were some times where Jimmy struggled throwing the ball a little bit outside the numbers. Trey had times today where he struggled. That very first throw comes to mind, right? Where he double clutches, not comfortable yet against NFL defenses with what he's seeing with his eyes and where he wants to put the ball. Because Jalen Hurd was wide freaking open underneath. If he puts the ball to Jalen Hurd there's a good chance he's getting 12, 15 yards and a nice first down. And there were other times too where Trey just put the ball behind guys again in space when they're running. The drag route, 3rd and 7. Jalen Hurd comes across the middle of the field. He dumps the ball off to Jalen Hurd. Jalen Hurd's got 2 steps on the defender, on the linebacker that's coming across to cover him. And Trey puts the ball behind Hurd. Hurd has to slow down to catch it, and then he gets drugged down before he can get the first down. If that ball's out in front, Hurd's getting that thing and getting to the edge and getting the first down, and that drive continues. So you see some of the areas still where Trey's struggling, and that's okay because he's not going to be asked to do it all by himself. You have Jimmy Garoppolo here who in certain situations where Jimmy has, right, the best qualities of Jimmy are in effect and are on display, you can put Jimmy out there in those situations. Trey gets to sit and learn, watch, but also in other situations go out there and execute and build up that confidence. So he slowly is starting to get a grasp of the system, right? And as the season progresses, he gets put into more situations and has more opportunities to improve and make strides.
I didn't see the struggles outside the numbers for Jimmy Garoppolo today.
I will take back the struggles outside the numbers part. I probably should have said I didn't see as much from him as I wanted to in terms of them actually taking shots downfield. I wanted more shots downfield, but there really wasn't that many situations for him.
It was 4 of 6, and he had the one deep pass to Mohamed Sanu.
One deep pass to Mohamed Sanu, and he had that beautiful one to Trent Sherfield on the sideline.
Right, he had the beautiful one to Trent Sherfield, which is like a 10 or 11-yard play. But I thought overall he looked like he was in complete control of the offense as far as what he needed to execute. He had clean pockets, and he was able to drive the football over the middle. You talked about the Sherfield one in our live stream over the middle where he kind of jumped up a little bit, caught it around 2 defenders. That was a nice play. The other incompletion was the one where Sherfield doesn't come back to the football. Jimmy doesn't exactly drive it either.
No.
I think there's a little bit of shared wealth there as far as the whose fault it is. If Jimmy steps into that one, puts a little bit more on it, and Sherfield works back towards the football, it's a completion. Sherfield doesn't make that mistake again later on, toe taps along the sideline, but I thought Jimmy overall was in complete control. I thought Trey Lance, besides the first one to Jalen Hurd, where he just completely missed in front of Jalen and Sherfield, I thought he looked like he was in control as well, hitting people outside the numbers, completing the ball over the middle. Was he on pinpoint accuracy? No, not always. But he put it in places where his players could make good plays and be successful. So I thought both guys looked pretty good overall. I was very happy with their growth and how much rhythm they had. And I think that is a very good sign for the way that Kyle Shanahan's trying to go, because I think both of them can make big plays. And I like that Trey takes shots. He's not afraid to take shots, and Jimmy's not afraid to take shots. So you had times in the game where both of them did that, and then times where they took what was there. There's the part of the game that Trey still has that is unbelievable is the times that he needs to just pull and go. When they had that 2-minute offense, they got the ball with like 1:10 left, and he was able on consecutive run plays to get outside the pocket when his read wasn't there. The one where he ran and he got the first down, they actually had Mohamed Sanu and Jalen Hurd running a combination route on top. And it was just taking so long to develop for Mohamed Sanu to break inside that he got off of it early. I don't know if it would have been there because I couldn't see the safety from the national TV broadcast. But if I could have saw the safety, I would have known if the play would have been there. But he didn't waste any time. He saw his opening, got up the field, and got the first down. You like to see that from him. You also like to see him diving in front of defenders so he doesn't take a big hit. Those are things that show how much he's growing and how much confidence he has in his abilities. I thought he looked very good. I thought overall it was a very nice effort from both quarterbacks. Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel put together a nice game plan, and they executed it to a high level.
And Chucky hated every minute of it.
Oh, you know it.
I know.
He hates that Kyle Shanahan has Trey Lance.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't hate it, but from a coaching perspective, it would be the worst thing.
Right, because he basically has the Diet Coke version there in Las Vegas with Derek Carr and Mariota.
I think Diet Coke actually might be a little much there. It's like Diet RC.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. RC is delicious.
Oh my. Okay, let's not go there.
But I don't know about Diet RC. I've never went down that rabbit hole.
Don't do it.
But think about that. He has the same similar talent of players, as far as skill set of players.
Correct.
Between the two guys that he has there, but at no way, shape, or form are they even close to being the level of the guys that Kyle Shanahan has. And I think it's funny because Kyle Shanahan's going to be able to pull off this 2-quarterback system, and John Gruden is sitting over there being like, man, I wish I could do this. He's still running Spider 2Y Banana.
Actually, he's running Spider 3Y Xbox Quesadilla now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. Thanks, Caliendo. We really appreciate that. Look, offensively, it was a top to bottom great performance. We got to see a lot of good things, but now we need to give some props where props are due because it's time. It's time for straight beast.
Great beast time, and there's some big performances on offense, but we had to narrow it down. Alex, who did you go with for your straight beast?
Look, I may be stealing your thunder here a little bit.
Oh, here we go.
The straight beast offensive player of this game wasn't even on the field because it was Kyle freaking Shanahan actually having the cojones to actually go with the Shanahan plan in its entirety, in the sense of getting both of these quarterbacks on the field. Not only did he get them on the field, he flip-flopped them in a way that I did not expect, which was basically every first down. The first time Trey came in on a second or third and short. I forget which one it was. It was either second or short or third and short. They brought Trey in. He gets the first down. Jimmy comes right back in, gets a first down himself. And I'm like, all right, they're going to get a little bit closer here, and then Trey's going to come. No, you're wrong. Here comes Trey right now. Trey comes in. He gets a first down, stays in when they're in the red zone. I'm like, okay, Trey's finishing out this drive. First down, doesn't get anything. Second down, Jimmy Garoppolo's right back in. And it's like, whoa, what the heck's going on here? Back and forth, flip-flop, flip-flop. Didn't know what was going on. Kyle Shanahan, tip my hat to you, sir. 2021 is going to be an incredible season for this 49ers offense.
Yeah, as far as offense goes, you might as well call him Bobby Fischer. This was a great performance, and I like that pick overall because he had no tendencies in the way that he used those quarterbacks. That was one of the big questions when we were talking about the Shannon plan consistently, was everyone kept saying, well, they'll know when Trey Lance is coming in or they'll know when Jimmy Garoppolo is coming in what to expect. What Kyle Shanahan did was completely flip that on his head and was like, no, you think you know what is going to go there. And then he unveiled a little bit of different wrinkles as far as what the running game would look like with Trey Lance in the game, the pulling of the guard and tackle, using Raheem Mostert to get to the outside. It was dynamic. Raheem Mostert can have an absolutely explosive season with the times that Trey Lance is in the game and the times that he's not. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be very explosive in the play action game where he can roll outside and you see him hit, George Kittle and Deebo Samuel and those guys in rhythm, in stride. That's one thing he does really well. He throws a very catchable football. So Kyle Shanahan did a very good job. You are 100% correct. This was where I wanted to go as well with my straight beast. I did not go that way. I went another route. But I give you big props for that one because that is a good call because it was nice to see. I didn't think he was going to unveil the Shannon plan in this preseason game, but what it did was it seriously put all the pressure on Detroit now to try to figure this out. It doesn't matter how many helmets Dan Campbell wears. He's not going to be able to figure this one out.
Poor Lions.
Yeah.
Poor Lions. Look, though, Ant, I may have stolen your thunder with the Kyle Shanahan pick for the straight beast. It's the first time we've actually not picked an actual player. And the fact that it came in the preseason rather than the regular season game is a little bit of a shock and surprise to me as well. But who did you actually go with then for your straight?
You can't steal my thunder when I have a thunderous player like JaMychal Hasty that I can run to. JaMychal Hasty had an absolutely explosive game again. He looked dynamic. That draw play where he ran inside, gets the ball from Sudfeld, is able to read some absolutely great blocks from this offensive lineman, including Kufasi, who I have to give him some props for making a great block. And then the explosion to be able to cut, get up the field, and then outrun a safety to the end zone was very nice. I thought that JaMychal Hasty secured himself a roster spot. That might be a little bit of a glimpse into what is coming in Project 53 because I thought he just looked absolutely fantastic, explosive for the second straight week. I don't know how you could possibly cut him. So he looked very good, and I liked his performance. 2 weeks in a row now, JaMychal Hasty could easily be talked about as the 49ers' best offensive player. I don't know if he was this week, but he definitely put on a performance that makes you think about it.
You have to think about it. You have to consider it, and I'm glad you did that because we could have just gone full Shannon plan, the both of us, and given Kyle Shanahan the kudos, and we would have completely overlooked what this guy did offensively for this team today when he came in the second half. The way he was running the football, everything that he did with that group.
And one heck of a handoff by Sudfeld, by the way.
Man, I'll tell you what. He may have handed himself right onto this roster. Who knows? Highly doubtful. Poor Suddy. Poor Suddy. Caleb right now kicking himself. He's wishing Suddy could throw. He just wants him to throw one tutty.
You think JaMychal Hasty told him, you just need to exist for the 3 seconds it takes to get me the ball.
He's Mike Winchell, folks. Oh, no, not poor Nate Sudfeld, not Mike Winchell. Look. From the offensive side, you have to talk about this defense and what this defense has done and what they've put on tape and just the way this defense is played. Again, DeMeco Ryans, the creativity with the blitz packages, where he's bringing guys from, when he's bringing them, it's hard to predict. It's hard to know. And every time he seems to send a safety, a quarterback seems to get hit in the mouth. Every single time that he brings a safety or a slot corner off somewhere. I love all the things that DeMeco Ryans has been doing and shown with the defense so far, and we know this is just still the vanilla. This isn't like the craziness, but we gotta start with the front guys, the front four. This defensive line again looks stout, looks phenomenal. Whether it's Zach Kerr, whether it's Samson Ebukam, whether it's Javon Kinlaw again today versus the run, or just getting pressure up the middle and forcing Peterson to not be comfortable at all whatsoever. This front four sets the tone. They continue to set the tone. It was nice to actually see this group. Armstead, right, getting out there. DJ. We got to see Ebukam and we got to see Kinlaw. Those four out there. The only thing that would have made this better was D Ford and Nick Bosa.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to wait until Detroit for that. And
Darn it.
That's okay, but that is part of the reason the defense is so successful is how good that front four is. They're able to put those guys out there, and they're able to eat up blockers. So when a blitzer comes, a lot of times it's free. It's not expected. D'Amico Ryans hasn't unveiled anything yet. He ran very limited blitzes even now. But you're right. Every time a safety comes off the edge, he's coming free, whether that's Hufanga, Jaquiski Tart, whoever that ends up being, they're always getting in there and being it. Even if they're not making a play on the football, they're at least in the vision of the quarterback where he knows I need to get rid of this ball, makes him rush, and maybe make a faulty play. But that pressure created turnovers even in this game. There was lots of times, especially on the one where Clinton Nix got an interception, the quarterback's got a defender right in his face. And because that happens, you get an errant pass. Clinton Dix is playing the deep third, and he's just sitting there waiting for it. It's a very nice thing to have, a very good problem to have. When you get this front seven completely healthy, when you have Greenlaw out there with Fred Warner and Aziz, and then you add in Nick Bosa and D Ford, they're the most dynamic front seven in the NFL. It's not even close. They proved it in this game that they have the most depth in the NFL at the defensive line. Every single guy can put pressure on. Chris Kasarik develops these players better than I think I've seen a defensive line coach do. That is high praise for him, and I'm going to continue to give it because the energy and the way that these guys play is pretty much unmatched in the NFL. They have a motor that doesn't stop. They take that after their coach, and then they have the most fun on the field as well. So it's a nice performance from this defense overall, and I think that really did help the secondary.
It definitely did. And look, before we get off of Kasarik, I got to talk about him manhandling Zach Kerr on the sideline and throwing him into the bench after his big sack where he had the double team, right? He spins off of it back towards the quarterback, makes the big play. They come to the sideline. Kerr is hype on the way back. Kasarik is hype, and Kasarik is so hype that he's able to push a grown man down onto the bench. I love everything that this guy does. Him and Daryl Tapp both have this group playing at an elite level. They coach at an elite level, and the hype train never stops with the Gold Rush.
That is true. It doesn't. And they go strong. Maybe my favorite celebration was the Kerr dance followed by the Kasarik throwing him. The only one that was rolling with that was the Trent Williams celebration after the JaMychal Hasty run.
That was a good one, too.
Where he's jumping alongside him and slapping him in the helmet.
Ran onto the field in the street clothes. It was great.
Yeah, he was excited about that run. But I think it goes to show you how close-knit this group is. And that goes a long way when you're playing defense. When you're playing team defense, you have to have a lot of trust in the player next to you. And they're definitely showing that. When you can count on the guy next to you to do his job, that allows you to do your job and not try to do too much. Whenever you try to do too much, you catch yourself out of position, you make mistakes. So that's all they're trying to do is do that. So I think that this was a very good step in the right direction. Now, we do need to talk about these DBs a little bit. Because we got Ambry Thomas out there, Diamond Lenore playing inside and outside on occasion, and then you had Myers playing on the other side. We got no Dante Johnson, which was interesting. But I thought overall they held up pretty good. Diamond Lenore finally started giving up a little bit of some catches there. And looked a little bit vulnerable at times, but overall, once again, still playing hard, still hitting hard. Ambry Thomas, on the other hand, not hitting so hard and missing tackles at times. I think Diamond Lenore has secured himself way ahead of Ambry Thomas as far as development. Ambry's got some room to grow still.
Definitely has some room to grow. That was a very disappointing tackle attempt on the tight end there that gave up that touchdown. That was not what you're hoping to see out of a guy who we've talked about and has shown that he can step up and be a guy who's a surefire tackler. We've seen him make tackles against running backs. Yep. We've seen him tackle guys underneath in space before with great effect and not missing tackles. This was like worst time, worst case, worst possible situation for him to drop the ball there. And it's got
what that made me think of? Shoulder tackles.
Gosh, shoulder tackles. That's an inside joke. We'll let you guys in on that at some point in time. But look, it is an inside joke. Look, Ambry Thomas. He hasn't regressed.
Yeah.
But he's not progressing. It's not happening at any sort of rate that is noticeable. If it is happening, it is a snail's pace at this point. With Dante Johnson not playing, does that signal to you that this guy is solidified, secured on this roster, and that are we actually in a world, Ant, where Ambry Thomas isn't making the 53-man roster?
Oh, I don't think they're giving up on a third-round pick yet.
I don't think so either, but Dante Johnson not playing signals to me that he's good. He's on. We're keeping him for sure. Are we really gonna roll? Are we gonna roll with 6 or 7 DBs?
I mean, what, you mean corners?
Corners,
yeah. I mean, you might roll with 6. I don't think it's going to be 7. It was always going to be 5 or 6, and it's probably going to be 6. I think that's what that would signal. If Dante Johnson not playing signals that, then that's it. Unless it signals that he's not going to be playing on this roster. I don't know. I thought that so far in camp he's looked way too good to pass up. So I'm thinking he's going to be on the roster, but that would mean they're keeping 6 corners, which changes the game a little bit. So we're going to have some decisions to make when we get to our Project 53. But I think they have to. If they plan on keeping Aubrey Thomas on this roster, you need to keep an extra guy because he's not ready to go yet. This guy is still in development. You can't put him out there for a significant amount of snaps and expect him to perform at a high level. He's just not ready yet. There's the development thing that needs to happen. The talent is there. The ability is ultimately there. But he's got to step up his game as far as being coached, and I think he's really trying. It's just there is some sort of a huge jump difference from him and Deommodore Lenoir. Lenoir has looked a lot better, but I think even he has a lot of growth. I'm not ready to crown him yet, but I do like where he's going, and I like his potential, and I think next year we could feel good with him in the slot, but he might have to play the outside if Aubrey Thomas doesn't step up. It was always supposed to be somebody else, and Aubrey Thomas is that pick, and he's got to live up to the expectations, but thank God we got Emmanuel Mosley and Jason Verrett right now.
Absolutely, and I'm not as worried about Deommodore Lenoir as I thought I would be heading into this. This was a guy who I didn't expect to be much of anything for us, and right now he feels like the guy behind Dante Johnson, and I feel comfortable with Deommodore Lenoir there. I think he's shown and proven enough that he can go out there and function, and he can go out there and do the things, and we don't have to worry about a dumpster fire situation like we did in Miami last year with a guy like Demo out there. Right? I think he's earned that much at least with this team and with this group. Aubrey, definitely a long way to go and a lot of things he's got to clean up. Some of that may still be on, shut down of college football and him not playing a whole lot of football games and just not being fresh. He has essentially what is close to 2 years of not playing, essentially. That can do a lot, especially if you're going from college football to the NFL. That's a big jump in talent, even, right, if you're in a big power conference, whether you're in the Pac-12, SEC, right, Big Ten, any of those conferences, there's still a huge jump in talent in what you're facing. And DB is not an easy position to play.
No, and you wouldn't think there was a lot of differences as far as scheme goes and concepts because he came from Michigan and they were in a little pro-style defensive concepts. You would think you'd be able to figure this out kind of quick. So it's got to be technique and skills in that direction that he needs to improve on. And you're right, having been out that entire 2019 season definitely didn't help. And now he's got to do something else. He's got to improve. But I don't think they're ready to give up on him yet. That would be hard to give up on a third round pick this early in development and kind of waste it. This was an Adam Peters pick, so you're thinking he's going to develop at some point. I don't see it yet, but I am definitely not ready to give up on Aubrey Thomas.
No, it's not time to hit the panic button, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on and see how he progresses going forward, because as of right now, the progression has been slow. I want it to pick up, but it might take some time. So we'll see how he looks middle season towards the end of the year. I think at this point, if you're the Niners, you're just hoping by the end of the year he's dialed in and has it figured out to an extent that he's functional, right? He can go out there and you can trust that he can do things and execute schemes, right? Coverages where he's supposed to be, and he isn't a liability.
Yeah, I think that'll happen. I think midway through the year, you won't have to worry about him being considered a liability. You will have to worry about him playing consistent football game or snaps because he will get beat on occasion because he's just not there. He's either playing too far off or he's getting beat kind of in press coverage. Just hasn't got it all figured out yet. He will. He just needs some development. Hopefully he'll improve. And I think middle way through the year you could put him out there and he wouldn't be a complete liability. But this isn't Remember the Titans. Put Petey in. He's better.
He's better.
We don't want that situation. No. Aubrey will step it up though. He'll be fine.
Yeah, we don't. This isn't. Yeah, no Goslings.
Yeah,
all Petey Joneses.
Yeah, Gosling was a complete liability.
Wasn't
at
good.
Corner.
It wasn't good.
No,
wasn't Brian Allen bad, but it also wasn't.
He's just getting beat. That's it.
Getting beat like he stole something. It's a great movie. It's a great line. Hayden Panettiere in that movie was fantastic. Look, from the DB room, you got to talk a little bit about the safeties as well. And I also don't want to forget about this linebacking core and what's going on there, because we did see some good stuff out of both Elijah Sullivan and from Mr. Justin Hilliard. I thought Justin Hilliard missed a few tackles that he shouldn't have missed early on underneath on some pass routes as well as in the run game. But overall, they were flying around and doing what they needed to be and were all over the field. I liked what I saw there out of this group. It's really a shame because you got your Fred Warner, you got your Dre Greenlaw, you got your Azeez Al-Shaair, and it's looking like Marcel Harris and maybe Demetrius Flanagan-Foles are going to be the front runners right now.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. Can one of those guys beat out Flanagan-Foles? I think Marcel Harris is kind of looking like he's secured himself. The way he's able to read and play the coverage concepts is better than the other linebackers that are behind those initial three. So that would make you think that he's going to be able to stay, especially with the versatility of him being able to play in the box. Or if you need to do something exotic, he can go out, and play a safety position. You're not going to want to see him in coverage a lot. But he's operating in the box a lot better this week than he did last week, which means he's improving. And as long as he's improving, you want to have this guy on the roster just because of the flexibility that he has and brings to the team. So then the question is, did one of those guys outshine Flanagan-Foles enough to make the roster? I don't know if that's true. I do think that those other three already play close to Flanagan-Foles' level as far as actual linebacker, but I think Flanagan-Foles is a better special teams player than them. And I think the only one that's even close is Jonas, and Jonas had a very good game on special teams. I don't know if it's enough to make the roster, though. I think early in camp, it looked like he was going to have a really good shot to be the backup to Fred Warner at Mike, but now I think Azeez Al-Shaair would ultimately be that backup, and then you can have Marcel Harris, fill this Sam Backer role. So now it's not as much of a need. So it looks like Jonas still needs to develop and might not make this roster. And those other two guys are kind of right there with them. So that will be the big question, though. It's Flanagan-Foles to those other guys. Could it still be Marcel Harris gets cut? Yeah, it could. But I have a feeling that they moved him there for a reason. They think he could be one of those top 5 linebackers in the room.
I agree with you there. That's why I think they made the move, and I think he showed it today.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because Jonas Griffith has looked great, and he didn't look bad again today. He looked good. This is a crazy thing, right? If you had told me before the preseason started, heading into week 1 of the preseason, hey, Jonas Griffith, he's going to put together a great camp. He's also going to put together 3 great preseason games. And you know what? He's not going to make the roster. I would have been like, you're a fool. You're a fool. Right? There's no way this dude's not going to make this roster. He'd have to, right? He'd have to, because that's exactly what he would need to do.
Yeah.
Have a great camp, 3 great preseason games, show something on special teams, which he's done. You think that's enough. It ends up potentially not being enough, and that's just a crazy thought. It is. It really is. It's hard for me to wrap my head around, but that's how talented this group is. What an incredible job D'Amico Ryans and this coaching staff has done with this linebacking core over the last few years, getting these guys to where they're at now. That's going to be a tough decision.
Yeah, the one thing we know about them is they recognize talent, and then they develop that talent. And they've done it every single year. The question will be, does D'Amico Ryans and this defensive group think one of these guys has more upside than Demetrius Flanagan-Foles? They really like him. They like him a lot. He's been one of D'Amico's guys. But so is Jonas Griffith. He's one of his guys. He stood on the table for Jonas. So maybe a potential issue where, he's like, well, he's not there right now, but you give him 6 to 8 weeks, you give him half of a season, and he's going to be there. Could keep one of these guys on the team, but it will take D'Amico Ryans standing on the table and saying, no, I can't be without this guy. I choose him over somebody else. It could still happen because you don't want to possibly lose a player that could be your next, starting Sam Backer, and just because, he's not as good right now. So balancing who gives you the best 53 now and who will give you the best 53 halfway through the season and ultimately a better 53 towards the end of the season is something they have to contemplate and figure out.
Right. Definitely going to be something to figure out and not going to be easy in any way, shape, or form because there's a lot of different variables and things to factor in other than just special teams. Look, safety room, similar type of situation here in regards to who your main 3 are. With Jaquiski Tartt playing through 3 games and being healthy, Jaquiski Tartt, Jimmy Ward, those guys are safe. I think those 2 are safe. I think you and I both agree that Talanoa Hufanga
100%
is safe.
Yeah.
I have questions now about Tavon Wilson, and I don't know how these questions started happening because Clinton Dix was out there starting the beginning of the game. Tavon Wilson, we didn't see come in until later in the game. Is Tavon Wilson actually on the hot seat and Clinton Dix is the guy who's safe? Or was this just a situation where they were just trying to see something with the 2 of them out there? Could they be toying with the idea of keeping a 5th safety?
No, I don't think they're going to keep a fifth safety now. Not with the way that they need to keep people at other positions. But I do think they're trying to decide between those two, between Tavon Wilson and Clinton Dix. And I think they gave Dix a little bit of a bigger run because he hasn't had as much time in the preseason to operate, didn't have as much time in training camp. So they want to see that film. They want to see how he reacts, how he plays in these situations. But I think that Tavon Wilson's done a good job of making sure he put out good film. They say Clinton Dix is just a magnet for the football. If that is the case, sometimes you want to keep a guy like that, a guy that has Pro Bowl talent. So it is a very fine line between who is going to make this roster, whether it's going to be Clinton Dix or it's going to be Tavon Wilson. I think it's razor thin. I don't even think this is a question. This is razor thin. The only difference is Tavon Wilson hasn't gotten beaten on any plays in the preseason, where Clinton Dix has gotten beaten twice, once for a touchdown and once for a significant gain. But he also had a turnover. So it's how do you balance it? How do you figure it out? And ultimately, who can you get to the practice squad? Who can you keep? You still got, a lot of decisions to make there. But I think it is down to those two guys because we know who those top three guys are. And Talanoa Hufanga has absolutely secured himself as a roster spot. He's pushing those top guys already because he's developed even faster than even I anticipated.
I didn't expect it at all.
Yeah.
And I can eat crow there and say that I was wrong. I thought this guy, it was going to be a few years. That's what I thought. I thought it was going to take a couple of seasons to get this guy to where it needs to be. This dude could be ready by next year to be a guy that goes in there and starts and plays significant amount of snaps and can be a guy that we can rely upon because he is going to be a major piece, situational piece for this team this year on defense and huge on special teams. But Talanoa Hufanga has definitely asserted himself as number 3, and now it's just a question of who's left. And yeah, I agree with you. Everything you said about the two guys that are left, right, between Dix and between Mr. Tavon Wilson. I haven't seen mistakes from Tavon Wilson. I have seen mistakes from Clinton Dix, and yes, he's got a pick. That's great. But you know what? The pick is good and great and all. But if you're giving up touchdowns and letting drives get extended, if points end up getting put up on that drive, that could fall at your feet if you're the one that's costing and making those mistakes and blowing coverage or missing assignments. Tavon Wilson has shown that he won't blow those assignments. And you know what? I hate to break it to folks, but Tavon Wilson will go watch his film. It's also a guy who somehow manages to be in and around the football when turnovers happen, and he ends up being the guy with the football in his hand. He's done that his entire career everywhere he's been. So while we haven't seen it as much in the preseason, and that's partially because, outside of that first preseason game, we haven't really seen a whole heck of a lot of Tavon Wilson. I'd say Clinton Dix got more snaps and has gotten more opportunities since that first preseason game when we brought him in. And that's because injuries happened and we needed to see what this guy could do.
Right.
We got to know, is there something here with him? You brought him in for a reason. Let's take a look. Let's see. Did he do enough? I don't know. Was that coverage blown today against the Raiders fully on Clinton Dix? It sure did seem like it.
Yeah, it did. It seemed like it. Without seeing the all 22 film, we can't know for sure. But it looked like it. And he made up for it. He's playing the deep third, and you get the errant ball, and he comes up with the interception. That's great. Congratulations. But you want to see your safety create turnovers. That's not going to be the reason he makes this football team, though. It's going to be every single play in totality and what they believe, will benefit the team the best. Tavon Wilson has a very specific set of skills that he does. He's able to get in the line of scrimmage and make plays, but he's also very good in coverage. I feel good with him in coverage. With I feel better with him in a zone setting and not so much in man, where he seems a little bit of a step slower. Tavon Wilson's a little bit faster. So it is kind of, you pick your poison where you want these guys to land. And I don't think they can make a terrible decision on this. I think there is a right and a wrong decision, but I don't think there's a terrible decision. So they'll get this one right, and they'll have the right player on the football team, and they'll be successful. And the other guy hopefully lands on the practice squad, kind of what happened last year, with the safety that we were able to put there, and the fact that Jonathan Cyprien that we put down there. And maybe we'll get that sort of situation. He came up and was able to play a little bit until he got hurt, but maybe one of these guys can contribute to the team if there's some sort of an injury.
Absolutely, we'll just have to wait and see. But we've covered all the positions. We've covered the guys who performed pretty well today, did some nice stuff. But now we need to single out those guys on defense, those special players, guys who get the block hot each and every week for the 49ers. It's this week's Block is Hot player of the game.
Block is Hot defensive player of the week, and I couldn't go anywhere else but this, Zach Kerr. Zach Kerr looked absolutely fantastic in this game, whether it was plugging up holes and stopping the run, or it was making fantastic spin moves, getting around offensive guards and getting to the quarterback with a huge sack, and then you get the huge dance and the Chris Kaczmarek throw. All of it is wonderful, but Zach Kerr has been consistent all the way through training camp. One of my favorite watches. He's one of my favorite personalities on the team, and I think he definitely, any questions about him making this roster, which was kind of crazy. I always thought he was secure, but there has been questions from the outside world that he shouldn't be on this roster. 100% he put all those to rest because he should be on this roster. He's going to be an impact player coming in and getting reps behind DJ Jones. So it was a fantastic performance for him, and I was very happy to see it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Zach Kerr, always a fun watch, whether he's making plays in the run game, whether he's absolutely wowing you with his athleticism, or whether Chris Kaczmarek's throwing him around like a ragdoll on the sidelines. Good time. Thank you, Chris Kaczmarek, for that great content on the sideline.
Yes.
Not gameplay. It was wonderful. Look, that is a great one. But my block is hot defensive player of the game is Samson Ebukam. For his basically layeth the smacketh down all over Nathan Peterson's behind. He gave him Peterson. He's getting Cutson. It's not going to be any. Doesn't matter anymore because he's most likely going to be gone. And Samson Ebukam really gave him a licking on the way out the door there for the Vegas Raiders. Samson Ebukam was all over him all game long, whether it was with the power right off the edge, basically bullying the tackle in to make plays, or whether it was power creating that separation and then ducking inside underneath to get those hits on the quarterback. I like to see it. That's what you want to see from Samson Ebukam. Just another piece in the puzzle for DeMeco Ryans, another tool in that toolbox that DeMeco Ryans has, sitting on the other side of the room opposite of Kyle Shanahan, that can get after the quarterback in a variety of different ways. He doesn't have to just use the speed. He's a physical specimen. He's a beast, and he absolutely put it on display today. I loved what I saw from Samson.
Yeah, it was nice seeing him get extra snaps, extra reps in this game, and he looked good. He looked dynamic. He's going to be a problem, for these other teams, especially when you get him out there and he's going to be singled up a lot of times. He won't be the focus of an offensive line. They'll be focusing on Ford and Bosa and Armstead and all those other guys, Kinlaw. And this guy will be able to go out there and execute and make plays. I look forward to him having a very successful season. If he puts up similar numbers to Kerry Hyder, I think we'll be over the moon about it.
Absolutely. We'll be extremely over the moon about it because he's definitely going to be a better version of Kerry Hyder than what Kerry Hyder was for this team last season. But Ant, when the block is hot, that means defense is playing lights out. It means you have guys playing at an elite level. When you got guys playing at an elite level, that means windows get a little tighter, right? Avenues and lanes to run in get a little smaller. And when those lanes are small and those windows are tight, the hurt can get put on somebody real quick. And we got some hurt business inductees to talk about today. I think you have two, and I know that I have two. That's a total of 4 for the hurt business.
Oh yeah, hurt business time. I'm going to throw out my first one, and then we'll go back and forth. I think this will be fun since we both have the 2 each. And the first one, number 64, Alex Barrett, who absolutely mollywopped the quarterback on the interception that Clinton Dix made. He hit the quarterback. He causes the errant throw because he's right there in his face, and he puts a hurting on him. I love it. Alex Barrett making plays. Will he make this roster? I don't know, but he did make the hurt business.
He did make the hurt business. Congratulations. Week 3 of the preseason, you're on it, Alex Barrett. I'm going to stick with the guy that I just talked about, Samson Ebukam, because both of his hits on the quarterback were nasty shots. Put him right in Peterman's chest. I actually thought they were going to call roughing the passer on the first one because he wrapped him up, took him to the ground, and kept the arms wrapped around him as he hit. I was like, oh, that's going to be oh, no, we didn't call. Okay.
It's Peterman.
I guess because it's Peterman and no one cares whether it's Peterman, Peterson, Peter Gone. It doesn't matter what it is, right? Yeah. They just don't care about him. And that's A-okay because it was a nasty shot, and he gave him another one a little bit later as well. So Samson Ebukam, for the first time, makes the hurt business in week 3 of the preseason.
Yeah, and I'm gonna flip the script on this because I'm not going defense with the next one. The hurt business is about to induct an offensive player.
Oh my!
Because Elijah Mitchell absolutely trucked a linebacker in this game, dropped his shoulder, took him out. So Elijah Mitchell, welcome to the hurt business. Dropping his shoulder and taking out linebackers is something I can get used to. Somebody that finishes runs, I liked it. You'd love to see that from a rookie running back.
You absolutely love to see it. You want to see this. This is one of the things we talked about, this guy running with power. He demonstrated it today. You know who else demonstrated it today, Ant? On a run also? I'm not actually going to go with that. It's not going in the Hurd business. He didn't truck nobody. It's fine. You all thought I was going there. Wrong. I'm going back to the defensive side of the ball because Jordan Willis had another big one as well, coming off the edge, just smacking Peterman around like it's nobody's business. That poor guy. We talked about how rough it was going to be. We thought it was going to be a little bit for Derek Carr. They basically just trotted Peterman out there as a tackling dummy and said, take your licks, son. Keep Derek Carr protected. Keep Mariota protected. We don't want anything happening to him. And he took his licks. Yarbrough got him as well a little bit later as well, but Jordan Willis' sack coming in was just nasty as well. I felt bad for Mr. Peterman, but I was happy to have another person to induct into the Hurd business. Jordan Willis now back-to-back weeks where he's had nice plays on quarterbacks, whether it was a safety, right, or this hit on Josh Peterman, whatever it is. It was, I'll just put it this way, it made me feel happy inside, knowing that this guy could eventually come back after his 6-week suspension and have an impact.
I think there's some honorable mentions as well. You had Elijah Sullivan with the big hit on the tight end. You had Jaquiski Tart on the one where Kinlaw grabs the guy's legs and Tart completely blows the guy up to stop him from getting
rehearse himself.
Stop him from getting a first down. And then you had Marcel Harris with the big hit where Ebicom grabs the legs and they almost caused a fumble. They weren't able to get the recovery so close. But I think those are some honorable mentions. The 49ers were definitely out there flying around, all gas, no brakes, bringing the wood and welcoming a lot of people to the Hurt business.
There's going to be even more Hurt business as we get further and further into the season because we haven't got to see Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Al Shire all on the field at the same time with this starting defensive group, with the starting gold rush. You haven't got to see this O-line in its entirety operating other than for one series today as a unit. There's going to be plenty of Hurt business inductees from this O-line this year as well.
Oh, 100%. Mike McGlinchey and Trent Williams will definitely be on this.
Matter of fact, they have a spot reserved for whenever they feel like it.
Oh, yeah. We just have a marker that says Silverback. It's just waiting his arrival.
Accurate indeed. Look, let us know what you thought about this recap of the 49ers game down below in the comment section right now. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did we not give someone some love? Should we be a little bit harder on Ambry Thomas? We're not being hard enough. Or we being completely unfair to this guy? He's a rookie. He's going to get there. We shouldn't even be bringing up any of the negative. We want to hear from you. We want to have this conversation about this team and about this game. So make sure you comment down below. And while you're down there commenting away, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. There's tons of ways for you to interact with the Cutback crew, whether that's Discord, whether that's hopping over to Patreon right now so you can go catch a little bit later today Big Yikes, which is coming out. You don't want to miss that out on Patreon, probably around 2 o'clock, I think is where it's going to get released, 2 o'clock Pacific time. Also, become a channel member here on YouTube. Become a Cutback crew community member on YouTube. You get access to videos early. You get priority comments, interactions with us, member-only live stream once a month on top of easy access and essentially free access to our Cutback Fantasy Football League and Madden Leagues.
Yeah, and if you don't want to wait for videos, you get early access to those, which is wonderful. You definitely want to do all of that if you can. If you can't, just keep joining us the way that you're joining us. We like having you here. We like having the comments and the interaction with you. But yeah, there's more times and more places and availability for you to get 49ers content. I'm trying to get this out there because I'm so excited about what's going on with what we're doing and the things that are going to be coming out. I can't wait to get over. I'm excited for Big Yikes, what's going to be coming down there. I'm excited for Project 53 that is coming up real soon.
It's actually next.
Yeah, it's coming up next. You're definitely not going to want to miss that. It is our, prediction, I guess you could say educated prediction on what the 49ers roster is going to look like this year, the 53-man roster. Will we be 100% right? We hope so. If we are, that would be wonderful. But it's going to be exciting. Join that. Let us know what you think. Make sure you're on there for that. Share the video. It's exciting times for 49ers.
Absolutely. Project 53 comes out at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So if you're watching this live right now, then great. We'll see you at 11. If you're watching this later, this thing's going to kick you right over to it. So you're welcome, Project 53. We're going to give you all those predictions. And don't forget, in that transitional period, head on over to the Cutback shop.
Almost forgot.
Get that Training Camp 2021 t-shirt. It will be going away soon. Represent Trey's training in the Bay. Represent Trey Sermon. Right? He's making his impact. He's making his body, his stamp on the team felt each and every time he touches the football. We love to see it from all of these guys, and we love hearing from you, Cutback crew.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of ways to get involved. Get involved. It's a lot of fun. I've been having so much fun interacting with the 49ers Cutback crew on Discord and through the socials. But it's been a blast. I'm looking forward to all the great content and all the great interaction we're going to have coming up. Just get involved. It's fun.
No better time. There's no better time, and there's more ways than ever before to be a part of the Cutback crew and interact with us and the rest of the Cutback community. So until that time, 49ers fans, you stay safe.
And remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.